Hi folks, thanks for joining me for my session for the Festive Tech Calendar this year. I'm Adam Kinniburgh from SquaredUp, and the topic I would like to talk to you about today is why context isn't just for Christmas. So, full disclosure, this is obviously going to be a product demo for SquaredUp. As it's Christmas, I'm going to make sure that everything you see here is something that you can do yourself with our free product. So you'll be able to try this out. If you see something that you like the look of that you think could help in your day-to-day work, then give SquaredUp a go. The only time I will be asking for money for you is at the end when I mention the Just Giving page that the event has put on for the Raspberry Pi Foundation. But other than that, this is all about fixing problems in your day-to-day workload by understanding more broadly what's going on. SquaredUp is a company that's been around for about 12 years. If you know the name and you're from the Microsoft Tech community, you probably know us for our on-prem dashboarding tool, Dashboard Server SCOM Edition, which is a really, really awesome enhancement for any SCOM admin to really get the best out of System Center Ops Manager. Over the last couple of years, we've been building and have now launched a SaaS product, which we call SquaredUp Cloud. And we talk about SquaredUp Cloud as being an observability portal. We're not another observability tool. We are the tool that you need to be able to make the best of your observability mess. Most of our customers have the same story when they talk to us. You know, we tried tool A and it was good for some people and not good for others. So we tried tool B and now we just have two tools that don't work together and everything's still a big mess. We really believe that being able to use the best of breed tools is the right approach. So if team A needs tool A and team B needs tool B, great. The problem that you get is that overall visibility. It's understanding how things work together. It's having that full picture. And most modern businesses are really starting to embrace the idea that it's not just about your infrastructure and your application monitoring. It's about things like customer sentiment. It's about things like your sales volumes, your adherence to your customer service targets. It's about your outside-in monitoring. It's about how the world interacts with you and your applications, and not just about what your systems tell you is going on with your application. And a lot of tools try to do that very well. But again, they often aren't appropriate in a lot of cases for some of that broader data. It wouldn't be normal, for example, to pull your Salesforce data into Dynatrace just to understand if your sales were being affected by your application performance. There is lots of data in all of these tools, too much data in some cases, certainly a lot more than people find useful. So we've taken the approach with SquaredUp Cloud that you shouldn't have to put it all in yet another place. So SquaredUp is a sort of fully streaming observability portal. We connect to the data where it is, we don't move it around, and we make it as simple as possible to build consistent, easy to understand dashboards. I'll go ahead and bring up the environment for one of our biggest customers, North Pole Industries, obviously a fictional demo company that I'll be using today. But yeah, like many of your organizations, North Pole Industries has all these problems. They have a workshop that relies on data from System Center and VMware and SQL databases. They have a new modern serverless application that runs on Azure and AWS. It's deployed with Azure DevOps, monitored by Pingdom. They have assets that are consuming energy, so they're using energy plugins. They work outdoors, so they're consuming the weather. They have teams who are responsible for service, who are using tools like Microsoft 365 and Zendesk. They have business units that care about incidents and change requests, and they're really focused on things like ServiceNow. And they have the big top level, is it going to work, roll up for Christmas Day itself. This view is really, really nice for a wall screen. It's a really simple way to see when something's changed. But to really understand the context here, I'll switch into our map view. Coincidentally, it's a very tree-structured organization. Christmas Day here is dependent on sort of four main things: the naughty versus nice metric, present delivery, team readiness, and toy production. And all of these things need to be tracked, and the data sources are pretty vast for a lot of them. So getting that roll up really is a tricky thing to do unless you have one tool in place to connect to all those different data sources, to standardize it all, and to give you those final values. Christmas Day is dependent on the production of toys and then the delivery of toys. So they are the two main units that roll up into Christmas Day. And production is dependent on the application that takes orders, the new modern Christmas list app. It's dependent on the workshop producing the toys, and it's dependent on the elves looking after their customers. Logistics also has a big dependency on the new modern list application, so it's a dependency for both. And you can see down here, reindeer are red this year. Now, unfortunately, Elon Musk has got into the North Pole, and Christmas this year will be delivered on the Cyber Sleigh. So the reindeer are currently unavailable in favor of the Cyber Sleigh. But because it's brand new, there's still lots of things going on. There's a Jira backlog. We're tracking the energy consumption. We're keeping a really good eye on the weather. So again, lots of disparate data being pulled together. But you can see there's quite a big difference in the kind of metrics that are being shown here that represent health. The sleigh is all about energy consumption and the cost of it. The list app is all about things like gateway latency, build success rate. It's tracking that key business metric of naughty versus nice. The workshop is all about build times. The elves are all about their open tickets and incidents. So lots of different types of data that wouldn't typically all fit together nicely in one tool. If I drill into any of these workspaces, you can see what's powering that health state. So we have a bunch of dashboards that cover all sorts of different topics, and the data sources down here you can see AWS, Azure, Pingdom, and Azure DevOps. And if I want to add a new data source at any point, maybe I've got some data that I want to get from running a PowerShell script, or there's a new API I want to connect to, or maybe it's something we already have a plugin for, and you just want to connect to that data and get it into your dashboards. Adding a plugin is really simple. If I show you Azure, for example, all I have to do is click the sign in button and we're connected. And I can repeat that over and over if I've got multiple tenants. I can use explicit credentials if I want to connect using a specific service account. So getting into your data is really, really, really straightforward with SquaredUp. Once you've got that connection, we index your data sources. We understand the entities in there. So in Azure, it's going to be things like all your function apps and storage accounts, log analytics workspaces. We keep an index of the things that you have. And if multiple tools know about the same thing, we can correlate that together. So as you're exploring your data, maybe you're looking at an Azure function and it has some open changes against it in ServiceNow, for example, we can show you that all in one place. And most of that happens pretty much automatically. Most of these dashboards are out-of-box dashboards. So again, as soon as you add the Azure plugin, you get a bunch of these. This is just a really simple example of a knock wall screen for that you might have on the wall in your ops center. So this again is just showing a nice sort of mix of metrics that makes the case for that real breadth of context. So yes, we're tracking things like client response time coming out of App Insights. We're tracking things like the health of databases, again coming from Azure Monitor. But it matters for this application that builds are succeeding, that what's going on in Azure DevOps is healthy. It matters that the cost of this application is within budget. So again, sort of tracking data from the Azure billing APIs. And the most important thing for this application is the thing it actually does, right? It's tracking the nice versus naughty ratio. So being able to put all that together pretty consistently on one page is a really nice way to have that sort of heads up. We can deliver these, daily into Slack or Teams. If any of these aren't green, something changes to amber, changes to red, again, we can trigger notifications to Slack or Teams, custom webhooks. We could push an incident into ServiceNow. However you want to be told about something, we can probably help you out with it. For the rest of these dashboards, again, like I said, these are out-of-box dashboards. So if you add the Azure plugin, you're going to get these. All of that data just streamed straight out of Azure Monitor. There's nothing being stored in the background there. That just works sort of straight out of the box. And like I mentioned, if you drill into anything, we can show you all of the data that we have for that object. So in this case, this SQL database running in Azure, we have things like availability history, we have firewall issues, DTU percentage, any metric for this application, for this particular object, we will just stream into this view. And if we happen to have information in another tool, we'd do our best to correlate that all together into one place as well. So bringing in those incidents from your CMDB, or bringing in cost from some other tool, some other monitoring you might have. And down here as well, you can see that we are aware that this database lives in a resource group. And if I click into this resource group, we'll be able to show you that we are aware that there are other things in the resource group. We can get information about the resource group itself, so cost, for example. But here's the resource group and all the things in it. We understand where things are and how things relate to each other, how things are connected. And that makes it really simple for us to sort of pull data together. So yeah, the out-of-box dashboards are definitely worth trying out. Here at North Pole Industries, that's all they're currently using for the list. They've got this nice heads up for their functions. They've got a nice heads up for their storage. Again, building a dashboard is really, really simple. They're pulling in that pingdom data to show their external monitoring. So it's not just about that inside monitoring that Azure's doing. They're also really interested in cost. Our Azure plugin covers loads of really good stuff for things like billing accounts, budgets, invoices, reservations. If you want to keep keep a close watch on your savings plans, if you want to make sure that your reservations are being fully utilized, again, that data is all here. And turning on monitoring is just a simple case of flicking the switch and setting your own threshold. Let's say if this is less than 99%, I want to know about it. Pretty simple. So this will stay green because it's above 99%. Maybe I want to set a warning. You can set the monitoring however you like. And again, we'll push notifications to you when things change. If there's ever any data that you want to maybe do a little bit of analysis on, maybe you want to combine data from different sources, we have a feature called SQL Analytics that lets you take any data and just put SQL on top of it, whatever you want to do with it. Maybe it's some averaging, some aggregation. Maybe you want to add another data set here. You want to connect some other data from another tool. Again, really, really simple. A really easy case here because it's right on screen. Maybe you want to merge the cost from Azure with the cost from AWS, or the performance of a backup database in one tenant with the live database in another. Again, that's all pretty straightforward with our SQL layer. So lots of cool dashboards out of the box. And again, as I click through these dashboards, these all just look like SquaredUp dashboards. They're pretty easy to understand, but in this case, we're now looking at Azure DevOps data, or we're now looking at, let's say, this is DynamoDB data from AWS. It all just looks like SquaredUp data, so it's pretty straightforward. And I mentioned that case where maybe we don't have a plugin for something. If I go down here and add a data source, let's just go, keep it nice and Microsofty. Let's go for PowerShell. I can add my PowerShell data source. Maybe I want to store some secrets, some tokens that I don't want to put in my script. Again, these can all just be stored in the plugin configuration. But once I've added a plugin and it's done its indexing, maybe it's added some out-of-the-box dashboards for you, it's pretty straightforward to sort of get started with it. So in this case, I'm going to choose PowerShell. I'm going to hit Run Script. And then I'm just going to paste in my script, which I have on my other screen. And in this case, it's just going to get some data from an API and throw it back to me. Maybe I'd prefer to see that as a line graph. Sure, no problem. So again, that was just running a PowerShell script and visualizing the output. And we can do that with scripts that you might have stored in a folder on disk in a server somewhere. That's all nice and easy to do. Another really common use case for our Azure plugin is visualizing data from App Insights and Kusto. So let's just say App Insights query. In this case, I'm just going to find the workspace I care about, my functions workspace, and I've already got a query over here, which I can just paste straight into the box, and we'll go off and get the data. In this case, just looking at my traces table where the message contains my name. So there we go, bunch of data's come back. Maybe I just want to show a count of events. Maybe I want to do some grouping and aggregation. Maybe I want to, sort of group these together where maybe some other filtering applies, that kind of thing. Maybe I want to group by their severity level, that kind of thing. And being able to just do a bit of data manipulation in a really simple way is pretty straightforward in SquaredUp as well. So yeah, pulling data from PowerShell, querying App Insights, all nice and straightforward. Now I mentioned these other teams are doing like quite different things. And we do have some other visualization styles. People love a diagram, it turns out, and people have been going absolutely nuts since we added our diagram tile in. So for example, the team working on the Cyber Slay were very, very quick to get their diagram of the new Cyber Slay in here. And these health states are then coming from SquaredUp through the Tesla API. So checking out things like the status of each motor, the status of the battery, being able to pull things from APIs and show it as health states to turn a number into the idea of health is pretty straightforward in SquaredUp. And again, with any of these, you can click on them and we'll drill you down to the dashboard for it. But in this case, like I mentioned, all new electric sleigh. So in this case, we're pulling data from Octopus Energy, where they're comparing the use of electric against the old use of gas. It looks like they're doing pretty good. They cut off gas a few days ago, and the electric usage is still looking nice and low. It's like quite a mix of data, right? We're pulling technical data from APIs, we're consuming data from Jira, we're consuming data from the Azure portal, we're pulling information out of monitoring tools, all sorts of different things, and being able to visualize it in a really straightforward way. Even some pretty chaotic stuff. I mean, if you've seen us at an event recently, we've maybe built you a little Lego Jedi. We have a nice dashboard that shows which were the most popular heads and legs and lightsaber colors and that kind of stuff. So if you've seen us at an event and taken away one of our Jedi minifigures, you will definitely have seen this dashboard. Darth Vader looking pretty popular. These were the stats from AWS reInvent last week, although inflated for Christmas purposes, to 8 million orders. We haven't had quite that many, but maybe at the North Pole. But again, this is business data coming out of an application. This isn't sort of technical monitoring data necessarily, but sits really nicely alongside that data that you would consider your sort of bread and butter monitoring data. So this workshop team care about the systems that they rely on to run the workshop, but they also have those really critical business metrics that they need to understand and to share. And SquaredUp's just a really great place to do that. So all of that rolls up. Through the different workspaces, up to the Christmas Day dashboard right at the top, where Santa Claus is sitting checking is the 4 things he cares about the most. Have we produced all the toys? Well, pretty much. Is the team ready? Yep. How nice versus naughty are the kids? It looks like they're doing pretty good this year. And then finally on the day itself, we're looking for this going straight to 100%. They are the key metrics, like I said, being created by other parts of SquaredUp, other data sources being pulled together and merged together. And finally, that's sort of represented through this business service roll-up, where production and logistics finally reach the top. So that's it from me. There's lots to SquaredUp. We are really, really excited about a lot of the new features that we're adding at the moment. And if you do want to give it a try, like I said, it's really, really simple to sign up for free. If you're interested in things like Azure, Microsoft 365, any other on-prem monitoring tools, APM tools, chances are we've already got a connector for it, and you can just click a few buttons and get your data sort of streaming into dashboards. We'd love to chat to you about it. But that's it for this short festive demonstration on why context isn't just for Christmas. It really is important to sort of pull all that information together. And yeah, for free, why not give it a try? But if you do want to say hi, you want to get in touch and maybe understand a bit more about SquaredUp, you can just check out my Bitly profile, which has links to everything else. I mentioned that great Just Giving initiative for the Raspberry Pi Foundation. I know a lot of the other speakers have called this out as well, so definitely get over to the Just Giving page. And finally, obviously, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't say check out SquaredUp as well. But that's it. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you have a great Christmas. Stay safe. Thanks.